Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Iron Fist, just Iron Fist, not the immortal, not the cool, just Iron Fist. I could tell by the front cover there's going to be a new Iron Fist because he had brown hair. I'm like, when has Danny Rand ever had anything but haystack yellow hair? So I'm like, all right, cool, it is what it is. And I thought to myself, and I know that the character's not going to stay, whatever this is, but I could tell right away he was going to be an Asian character. There's always been that cultural appropriation thing. Well, ever since Danny Rand was played by that weak person with no musculature whatsoever in the Netflix series, those 2 seasons. What do you call it? People have been talking about cultural appropriation. I'll try to remember to talk about that later after the review. But no, it's good. I'm cool. If you're going to have a new Iron Fist, it's in the tradition to have a new Iron Fist. I'd even be okay with a permanent, non Danny Rand Iron Fist if that's what is called for. As long as the story is good, I'm okay with that. More because I don't want to see a new Captain America. I always hate it when they have a new Captain America. They got the different Daredevil now. It's like, it's cute. I get what they're doing, and I still kind of like it, but sometimes it goes on for a little bit too long. Anytime somebody comes along and wants to place it, it's funny. There's like the new Spider-Man, but he's the old Spider-Man, but he's the new Spider-Man again and again. So I don't know. It is what it is. It's like, can't we just have our characters and you can just have somebody else do stuff? No, we can't do that anymore. How long before Thor is a female again? It is what it is. Anyway, it's a sword master in this particular case. And I thought that's actually kind of cool. The way that they did that. I like the way they did this. First, let's talk about who made this comic book, and then we'll move on from there. I know I usually do it so much sooner than this. Alyssa Wong is the writer. Michael YG, his last name is YG. I don't want to try and pronounce that because I've never heard that before, and I know for a fact I would do a disservice to that name. It might be Vietnamese. It looks like a Vietnamese name, but that's just to me. I'm much better with Japanese names out of all the Asian continent names. J. David Ramos, he's the colorist. Pretty good with the Latino names, I'm saying. And then VC's Travis Lanham on letters. Chung and Ramos do Jim Chung, he wasn't mentioned before, and Ramos do the covers, and there's a bunch of variant covers out there, as we should expect from an issue number 1. For the most part, I liked this comic book. Unfortunately, I have to give this a thumbs down for one major problem. I'm going to get to that later, but first, I really liked the art and here, both the pencils, inks, and colors. And it was very subdued inks. They exist, but they're very subdued. It's mostly pencils and tracing pencils. But since Michael YG is the artist, he does the pencils and the inks. You can trace all day long, and nobody's going to question you. You know what I'm saying? You're tracing your own work. So, but it did feel like more tracing than anything else. Whatever, it is what it is. As he becomes more comfortable with what he's doing, maybe he'll expand that a little bit more and wind up becoming a fantastic art. Because if he could do this with mostly relying on pencils and darkening his pencils, there's no limit to what this dude can do. It doesn't feel like a very distinct style. In fact, it feels more like the 90s style. And I did a spotlight on comics for a Wolverine Iron Fist comic book, and it looked almost exactly like that. But of course, that was when they first started doing the 90s. That's when they first started really doing the digital art on the brand new paper instead of the four dot colored matrix on newspaper paper, right? The stuff that you have to put silly putty on and get the transfer. It's like, don't do too much. You're literally taking the colors off the comic book, man. But no, like his art style by leaning so heavily on his pencils was still fantastic. I look forward to him having his own particular style, a recognizable style one day. Yeah, and J. David Ramos, this guy's an old pro. I don't know if he's a vet. I don't know how long he's been doing this for, but he's an old pro. He's old hat, to talk like an old person. So very impressed. And I know that they were trying, like, this is basically Marvel trying hard by putting a solid colorist on this instead of just putting another. Don't get angry at me, but instead of just putting another Asian name on this, they put somebody who they know is good. And the colorists, they've mostly been tapping Latin America, not for any bad reasons. I don't know, maybe it's just one of those things, like these guys are just trying so hard to get into the comic book industry that good pencilers and inkers are resorting to just doing colors just to get their foot in the door. I've talked many times about some of my favorite colorists being from Latin America and being really good pencilers too, but that's not what they're being hired for. So, but as time goes on, I think we're more and more realizing that the southern continent and Mexico has some really amazing artists, and we're going to be seeing more of them. But for now, the fact that they didn't choose to put another Asian name on this cover, instead they took one of their far better colorists and just said, we're not playing around. Boom, here you go. That's one of the two ways that Marvel, actually, that's the way that Marvel says, we're serious about this and we're hoping this is going to be good. Like I said many times before, though, I think Marvel, if they think that something is really that good, they should guarantee 12 to 18 issues of a comic book instead of just saying 5 issues, less if it sucks, or no, we're not going to put any limit on this, just whatever, and then they'll cut the book off between 5 to 8 issues. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you get an anniversary issue, an annual or something like that. But yeah, Marvel needs to have more faith in the people they're doing what they're doing with. The problem, Alyssa Wong, I've seen the name before, and I think that she did a fantastic job in introducing the new Iron Fist, who's actually Swordmaster, as I'd said earlier. Good idea. I don't know if there was actually a comic book or like at the end of the Swordmaster comic book that I know was going for a while. Did I get to see him with Silver or with White Fox and his sword shattered and went into his hand, stuff like did that actually happen in the comic books, or is that just something that we're getting secondhand? It's like, oh, this is what happened, boom, boom, because I'd have rather seen a flashback, if nothing else. Make this a double-sized first issue. Again, Marvel, tell us, show us that you have faith in this comic book instead of just, well, we did something. It's basically like petty cash if we lose it or whatever. That's not what I want to see. I want to see you actually putting your trust in the people that you're telling to write this comic book. I need to see that because that's going to make me trust it more. Instead, what I see in here is, and from what I feel is, they put Asian names on the main creators and, the writer artist because they're trying to show, hey, look, we're culturally sensitive and stuff like that. And I personally, I just don't care. I don't care. I'm cultured like hell. I'm married to someone from the opposite side of the world from me. You know what I'm saying? And hey, guess what? So is she. When you think about it, traveled all over the place. Bro, like, come on, speak multiple languages, and I love everybody. But sometimes when you see 2 Asian people put on a comic book that is typically or supposed to be Asian, not really with Iron Fist, but anyway, it's usually like immediately disheartening. It's like, are those the best people to do this book, or is this just what you figured we'd like to see? Because I'd rather quality over feelings anytime, or checking boxes, right? Nonetheless, I already praised Michael YG on this, but Alyssa Wong, the character concept was great. I don't know if it was hers or if this was an editor telling her this is what we want. You're hired to do such and such and such and such, and how you do it is your choice, but this is what we want to see. So I don't know if this was her idea, but if it was a great idea. The story pitch, the plot, everything on this, it actually sounded cool. If somebody were to just write a 1-paragraph pitch for this comic book, I would love to see it because I think it would be fantastic. I think it would be really solid to see something like that. If somebody were to write just an executive summary of what happened in the comic book, wow. I bet you I'd look at this and be like, I need to read this comic book. The problem is in the delivery itself. Well, the story's fantastic. I love the idea of there being and again, I'd be perfectly okay with seeing a brand new Iron Fist in this particular case for the long run, because the Iron Fist was never supposed to be only Danny Rand, right? Well, actually, in the beginning it was, but there was a really good retcon to show that he wasn't the first. He was nowhere near the first, and he's not even the best. In fact, he's actually technically the worst Iron Fist. He's the only one who took Iron Fist seriously. There are people who, channel it into weapons and stuff like that, and just boom, and he's the only one's like Iron Fist, so I have to channel it through my fist. Okay. Woo! And like he never lived up to his true potential, which was sad. They killed him at one point by shoving him through a wall. I mean, I'm saying, it was a stupid death. It's a very stupid death. But for me, like, I know right now Spider-Man isn't Spider-Man, but he used to be Spider-Man, so it's Spider-Man again and again. Anyway, the Ben Reilly thing, Doctor Strange, the Sorcerer Supreme is going to be new. They're in that phase again. You remember after Jim Shooter left in the very late 80s when the Thing became a pineapple? I liked it. It was cool. When Iron Man was switched up a lot. It was like seriously switched up a lot. Captain America became a different Captain America, right? We had all these different people becoming something new. It's like somebody new stepped in their place, Even the X-Men roster completely changed. Right? The Avengers always change, but they changed up so many of the characters. Hulk became gray instead of green, right? Ignore the first issue number 1 of the Hulk. Way back in the day, ignore that. I'm saying, like, he was gray, and he was meant to be gray. They had the colors to make it work. Now, I thought that so much of that was pretty good, but it changed back within like 2 years, right? There's a reason for that. We just want to see the original stuff, and then when here comes the SJW comic book thing came out, when Comicsgate came to a rise, and like I said, they've made a lot of really good points. Didn't like their methods of doing it, but it is what it is. I found myself agreeing with a lot of what they said without enjoying the way that they were saying it. Like I said, it is what it is. I'm starting to see that again when they made Thor into a woman. It was like it's not even an original idea. Like Jane Foster was in that What If comic book where what if Jane Foster was Thor? So they're like, no, we're actually going to make it a real thing, not just a what if now. They changed everybody's name. Wolverine became his daughter / clone sister thing. Everybody just changed up, and it's Ms. Marvel became Captain Marvel, and all these different things changed. It's like, dude, what the frick is going on? Like, come on. And I'd like to say most people knew that it wasn't going to stay that way, but unfortunately, most people did not know it was going to stay that way. It is what it is, But I was okay with it, and it happened. But after a while, they realized this isn't working. Let's go back to the way things were. And now all of a sudden, they're starting to change some things again. There's a couple, like I said, with the Spider-Man and Doctor Strange and a couple others, we're starting to see we're going to start changing things up again. And it's not going to work this time, just like it didn't work last time. But if there's one character I believe it could work with, it would be Iron Fist, because it's been established that he can be changed. The Iron Fist is the power, not the person. And I like the way that this is being presented. I like their choice for the new Iron Fist. I like the way that he got his powers. I am kind of curious to see what's going on with Sholao, the immortal dragon, because I've fallen in love with that story. I don't like how they just keep on raising this thing just to tear its freaking molten heart out. But I mean, it's like, dude, that at some point PETA's got to get involved. I mean, like that's got to be the next Iron Fist story. Iron Fist versus PETA. But cruelty to animals and mystical dragons at another point. I feel like so much of this comic book degenerated into exposition. Towards the end of this comic book, everything was just an info dump. I'm better okay with it happening in novel form, but reading it like this, I got two daughters who are in university, you know, and they still they text me all the time, and I love them, and I love that they text me, and I love that I'm still so important in their lives. But if there was one goddamn thing I'd change, it was that, well, two things. One is that they would let me do emojis without yelling at me, because my emoji game is tight. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's fresh. I could just zip an emoji at you with no problem. But they're just like, oh, God, Dad, please stop with the emojis. You know? Okay, fine, fine, fine. I won't use that feature on my phone. Jeez, cut off my left arm, why don't you? But more importantly, I wish that when they sent me text, they just take the time to make one text instead of ding. Oh, okay, cool. Ding. Oh, what's going on? Oh, cool. Ding. Oh, okay. Let me type back to that one. Ding, ding, ding. What the fuck? Stop! Stop! Like, I can't take it. If you got something to say, formulate the thought, write the whole goddamn thing out. It does, like, just push the enter thing so it just goes to the next line. It's the same thing without multiple dings. Anyway, I don't even like dings in my car. I sure as hell don't want dings, 1,000 dings on my phone. Jeez. One ding. One ding. Maybe two if you forgot something. But not 30. Anyway, that's what this felt like. It felt like exposition, and I just had dings going off my head every time there was a different text box and a different voice and a different speech bubble. There we go. A word bubble. Boom, 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 boom. And all the expositions just like for pages. I'm just like, okay, I actually didn't read the last couple, I think the last 1.5 pages of this comic book. Something really cool might have happened. I don't know. But actually, I saw the Ching Long thing showed up. But I got really tired just reading that. I don't know, maybe younger, maybe youth would be okay with it. People my daughter's ages and whatnot. Whatever. But I sat there looking at this, and like, I can't keep on reading exposition. Like, there was so much, and the word bubbles weren't even big. It's like, could you just give me the whole thing? Because it's bad enough when you don't know where to put the word bubbles because you're not that seasoned with writing comics. So, you have to know where to put the word bubbles. And if you don't, we can be patient with you, but I can't be patient during, when you're dropping exposition. It's not supposed to be exposition in comic books. You got words, you got text, you got the pictures. Like I said, Michael YG is a fantastic artist. Utilize his art. I don't need you to type everything out for me. I've got a shelf full of novels right here, and these are the ones that are exclusively for me. Actually, my Lord of the Rings books are out there, but only because I'm reading them to my kids. But my point is, like, I've got a lot of novels. I can read my novels anytime I want. Sometimes when I read a book like this and there's so much exposition, I think to myself, I need to go back and read one of my novels because I can't keep on bouncing. It's bad enough you got to look to see when you don't know, when the writer doesn't know where to put the text bubbles, right? And the artist isn't giving enough room for it, then the reader has to do a lot more work and has to say, okay, well, which one should I read next? And if you start reading something, it's like something's missing. So you go and check the other one. Okay, this is the one we're supposed to be. Okay, boom, boom, boom. And you start reading. And it's exposition. It's too much. It's too much. So that's the one thing I want to complain about with this comic book is the exposition in word bubbles. It simply did not work. It's not going to work for me, brother. So I'll check out issue 2. No promises that there'll be a review for it. I reviewed the first one. It's out there. Hi, go and check out this comic book if you're interested in the things that the positive things I said about the comic book, and you can go into this knowing there's exposition, but I know there's exposition, so I can, work my way around it. Anyway, I would like to know where this story goes. So, like I said, I'll probably check out issue number 2. We'll see. In the meantime, you guys, your job right now is to like this video and to watch an ad or two. And I'll talk to you guys later. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.